Hello, everyone. So this session, now we have Leslie and Ben. Leslie is the co-founder of Future of Fashion and the Digital Fashion Group. And Ben is the co-founder of Leapfrog AI and as well as the Future of Fashion co-founders. So now today we have these two co-founders are going to introduce what they do and then who they are and then their vision and mission. So would you like to start from Leslie, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, we can start. Um, are we going to show the PowerPoint now? Are we going to do that?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have our faces in there as well for the introductions. That could be a
people recognize it. I don't think I had my mustache at that time, so maybe there'll
oh,
be a bit of
oh,
confusion.
oh.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so Future Fashion Collective is quite a new venture. Ben, uh, Gemma, and I got together to discuss this a few months ago, and we were really motivated by thinking about how AI is working through the supply chain, how it could work better. And we're also very interested in working together to bring together a network of like minds and for us to work closely with industry and help industry find the right people for the jobs and the positions that we're looking for because of AI. And as we're going to talk about it through this conversation, one of the challenge points with AI at the moment is finding people with the skills who can do the job that you need to do or the way you need to develop your company towards AI. So that was the kind of initial starting point for FOF. Do you want to move on to the next slide? Um, So it's how we were kind of imagining what the future of fashion would be more than anything else. And our focus is very much about how AI can obviously help with efficiency through the entire supply chain, but also with innovation. I mean, from my perspective of being involved in education and working with higher education more today in a adversarial kind of position, advising them on the ways that they can approach digitalization and AI. What I see is that something like AI just is not in the curriculum enough, and I'll mention that in one of my answers later as well. So it's more about how you innovate AI into learning, and also innovate AI into into the whole company and into your design process and into your end product as well. And of course, how you look on sustainability, how you work with AI as a tool to achieve more sustainability. So we see very much the future as AI being a management tool going across the whole of the fashion chain. Next. Yeah, so we work in different ways. I mean, we're very much, all three of us are very much engaged in networking and with our contacts and with our building our own networks and bringing these together. And we look at how we can prepare workshops for organizations, how we can help them move towards that technology, and also working with people that we know and that we trust as well. So it's very much about how we are developing hand in hand with the brand or with the organization, how they are looking forward and developing AI within their products. Okay, next. Yeah, and it's about really integrating the newest technologies into the workflow, into have encouraging industry to use these technologies more in-house. Next. So on to Leapfrog, our
Yeah.
partner organization.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Wonderful setup introduction. Yeah, I think I just want to touch super quickly on kind of the three, I suppose, like the three roles or strengths. Obviously, we cross over quite a lot, but Leslie's had a strong education background and knows how to, I suppose, demystify and help people pick up the new technology, which is one of the hardest things to do. Gemma has spent 20 years at PVH, Burberry, loads of other brands, so she really knew how to get organizations moving and working. And then my background was a little bit more in actually the solutions. And so we've got some of those today, but obviously the solutions are only one thing, but you also need to know how to get people on board with them. And you also need to know how to get them moving through an organization. So Leapfrog within future of fashion, basically help fashion brands optimize, mostly at the moment, optimize studio, ecom, and content creation. Yeah, we sort of, due to FOF, we are now sort of strategic partner, not just tech provider. So, it's about holding the hand of the client, not just handing them a solution and telling them to be free, because that doesn't tend to actually result in any clear adoption. And part of the reason why we have kind of access to all this, the latest, greatest technology is that we're an official partner to the world's leading AI tech provider, NVIDIA. But yeah, we work with a handful of kind of sort of the world's biggest brands, and with FOF we yeah, go in initially, kind of unpack problems, workshop, and then eventually look to integrate solutions. And that's sort of what I wanted to then jump on today, so that we can both talk about the high level process that we run through to get here, but then also the results themselves. So like the four things or the three things that I'm going to focus on most, or the two things I'm going to focus on most, is talent replacement and image to video. So one of these is in regards to taking static imagery and turning it into video. So we've had a handful of brands now pick this up. It improves engagement with their product pages, cuts video production costs down, yeah, increases add to basket, which is obviously really, really important for brands. The other is talent replacement, and this can be there's two reasons that brands do this now that we're seeing, and one is for extra localization. So we're working with a brand currently to basically completely localize their Japanese website. At the moment, it's mostly sort of like European Western models, which obviously, if you're a Japanese customer, maybe it's quite hard to see yourself in those garments. But now, and this brand didn't have sort of the capital or the money to um, yeah, basically to do another shoot. And so this way, you are improving the life of the consumer as well as improving the life of the brand, which I think is sort of a nice way of doing it. So the first one, yeah, that we touch on basically is talent replacement. And just to go into sort of the levels of granularity you can get with it. So for some brands, it's, localizing across APAC, EMEA, Americas, and it's just simply, taking an original model, creating digital talent and replacing based on an area. And obviously right now, this is kind of a very top line overview of how you would localize. These are sort of, I guess, generalized ethnicities, but it does get as granular as this. And so for another brand, they want to localize for their Asian markets, but obviously that is such a huge area. Even a country like China, there's going to be a wide variety of Chinese people within that market. And so we're actually working with sort of some kind of ethnicity experts to understand the different types of faces, the different types of looks, so that you can really localize down to that like super granular level. And I guess the furthest and the deepest localization you can get to is actually showing the consumer, but I don't know how many people necessarily want to see themselves all over a model page, and perhaps would rather see some of the pretty people that they put on there as well. The next that I want to look at is image to video. So this again, and it kind of touches on the point of needing someone to help guide, and that this was a solution that wasn't possible, I think, 3 months ago. The results just weren't good. This is when it was like six fingers and heads turning 360, sort of exorcism style, and nobody wants that on their brand pages. So now you can see that this is just from four images that you're able to create pretty high impact content. I don't know how. I think Zoom's quite good for not showing janky videos. So hopefully this is smooth. I'm not sure though, but if not, we can send it out afterwards. But really, every brand will have a different version of this and storytelling of their product, and video just does that so much better than static images ever could. So you can both affect how the model behaves. You can impact like what do they want to focus on. So that shot there, you can see really focusing on like the Lululemon logo, and the quality is just so high. And it even comes down now to the level of how a fabric fits and falls. So when we were first running these kind of Lululemon tests, the model seemed to think that the pants were latex, which obviously is a very different vibe to what Lululemon are trying to give. And so now it stretches and pulls in the right way, which is obviously really important when creating consumer-facing content. And we've got like a very quick case study run on Tommy Hilfiger just to show like how it all comes together and gives you an idea of like the full breadth that you could go to. And so, starting with creating a model. So in this case, we've got Theo. He does not exist as a person, but we have given him a name just because I think it makes, working, we've experienced it working how fashion brands are used to working helps. So not showing loads of lifeless characters, but actually bringing them to life how they would see them usually, like a traditional lookbook really, really helps. So we have Theo, and again, we do like sort of editorial poses, and this helps a studio team feel a bit more comfortable with the process because they're not now staring at 100 lifeless AI faces, but instead can connect with the characters and with the people, which I think is really important. Here you can see him sort of applied to a different look. Again, something that's really, really interesting and was like maybe is a minor detail, but interesting to point out is that Tommy, for example, here, they have so many different colorways per product. They were having to shoot on every single product there, which is obviously a bit of a nightmare. But with an AI model, you can both change the clothing, the garment really, really easily, but then also repose the model really quickly. So now you're just shooting on one person instead of eight. For some of them, their polos have 32 colors, which is lots of colors and lots of shoots, but only need one now, which is really good. And then again, being able to take those images and turn it into video. So what would have probably been, and I'll go on to the next slide as well, and includes this, like, tens of thousands, maybe getting close to six figures, and many hours and many different teams can now come from one asset. So even here, you can see that we've taken Theo, put him in a New York style setting, and again can get super granular with that. So for them, they wanted, it's for Tommy, it's their vibe. If you look on their socials, it's Manhattan, not Brooklyn. It's clean streets. They like this kind of grain on top of the model. So you can really get to that level of control that maybe wasn't there that long ago. And this all comes from just shooting on one asset in the studio. Yeah, and something that we always say is the hardest part that AI can't really get right now is the fit and fall of a garment, like how it's meant to look. And so if you just shoot that on an original model, like a fit model, or someone who just can wear the clothes, then you can take it the full all the way to the next stage. But yeah, depending on whether you want them in Brazil on a beach or on the streets of New York, all of it's possible. And you can again also change the style. So this is all like a very kind of quick case study of some of the work that we implement, but obviously it can't be done without the stages beforehand. And maybe Leslie can touch on it again, just a little bit about, uh, maybe we can't reference the brand right now, but the challenge that they're facing in terms of the education piece needed and what they've tried before. But maybe that's a useful thing to touch on, Leslie. I don't know whether you'd like to add to that.
Yes,
Mm.
go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, do you want me to touch on that?
Yeah. Yes, if you'd like to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in our experience, and of course, not mentioning the brand, it's in these conversations, we often have this desire to understand more about AI, a desire to implement it where they can for different reasons, but also a difficulty in understanding how it can possibly be implemented in the structure that they're running at that moment, at the moment, that they've been running for a while, that, historically they've worked in a certain way, and then how do they relook at the relationships within the company, the way that they're progressing through the supply chain, et cetera, et cetera. How can they actually bring AI in effectively? And I think that we're in the early stages, of course, and what we're seeing is that larger brands, like the brands that Ben has been able to share, who have the finance to actually start looking into these areas, are investigating into this, whereas the smaller brands, SMEs, are perhaps don't have the finance to really understand how they can implement it properly. But it's it's push and pull.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. And thank you, Ben, for introduce what you do and then your thoughts on, how you want to create FOF Collective to, help really help the industry and the brands.